what is the main message you want to communicate during the discussion at the forum later on?
Well, I think there's two key messages. The first, but they're related. So the first message is that this is not and no longer an issue just about equal opportunity for women. It's about business outcomes. So the real commercial imperatives are now the key message that organisations are focusing on. And so the related point to that, the most important one, is we now have the evidence. We've got all the statistical data. We've got it from 3 or 4 different sources. It's not vested in any one organisation. We know this now to be true from multiple data points, that firms that have the highest percentage of women on boards also have the highest return on invested capital and the highest return on equity. So there really isn't a case to be made in terms of it would be a nice to have. It's actually a compelling commercial opportunity. And the firms that don't understand the significance of that will not do well in this new environment.
So how does gender diversity in boards create positive value for business? Just to elaborate on what you said earlier, and what tangible evidence exists around this?
The case around it is, as I said earlier, it's all about the commercial outcomes. The tangible evidence, that is, where do we see that commercial upkick, is, again, there's 2 parts to that question. One is we see it because the Catalyst report, the McKinsey report, the Land's End report, we've seen 3 or 4 very significant detailed pieces of research that now will make that relationship to commercial outcomes. But here's the aspect of it that's got the Hong Kong angle attached to it. The very real drivers for commercial success in this environment are all about the industries that are doing well. They happen to be industries in which women are the primary drivers and the primary buyers. So as the consumer market is now building to an extent that you would need to be penetrating that business in order to be doing well in a Hong Kong market, and the dominant driver of those acquisitions are women, then there's clearly a very strong, compelling case that says, I better have some infrastructure that represents my main purchasers, and they happen to be women. So I think they're the key points to make on that issue.
So what should corporate boards in Hong Kong be looking for in terms of board appointments?
So what organisations in Hong Kong need to look for is really not greatly different to what organisations around the world are looking to do. So if you imagine that most international global organisations are looking to reach into Asia right now, they're looking actually to build up some of the same level of capability. Local knowledge is very important. It would be fantastic if individual candidates came with existing P&L ownership or responsibility. That's becoming less of an issue, by the way, but nevertheless it's a critical part of the makeup of successful board application, that you've actually owned a P&L, that you understand the critical financials and the risk components, that you've got some understanding of compliance and governance. Having some background in strategy and understanding strategic plans and how they matter and what they mean when they get rolled out. But the most interesting aspect to this new move to attract women to board opportunities is that some of the capabilities, putting aside those real technical experiences I've just mentioned, some of the very compelling behavioural aspects that boards need right now are actually more often demonstrated by women than by men. I'm talking about social intelligence, EQ, conciliatory orientation, that is, women like to do things through other people, they like to work with other people. All of these things are very fundamental to the makeup of boards. So it happens that right now, the things that we need, the technical competence and the behavioural competence, are really what's driving the scrutiny that these women are coming under, and many of them have those capabilities. Now, are they going to get selected in Hong Kong? This is another issue.
what do you feel are the biggest obstacles to women getting to the top of corporations in Hong Kong?
Well, that was a nice segue, wasn't it? Well, actually, let me just give you a horror story, because it was mentioned today at the breakfast that preceded you and I getting together. One of the facilitators told a story about a Hong Kong candidate, very accomplished woman, apparently very well known. She didn't mention her name, but a prominent, accomplished woman who was told by a third party, a professional, search professional, that she had no chance of getting onto a board in Hong Kong because she didn't have enough grey hair, she wasn't male, and she wasn't Chinese. So one of the biggest challenges, the obstacle that most women, talented women here in Hong Kong are facing, is that still the strong pool of selected candidates comes from somebody or other's lawyer, member of the golf club, a friend from another organisation. Personal referrals drive the largest pool of candidacies for new board appointments. So that's one side of it. In Hong Kong, we haven't made that same level of protracted analysis around the widest pool of talent. It's still based on who you know, and guess what, they tend to be men. Now the second issue around this, and it's an issue we don't talk about enough, is that the demand is actually quite small. Board appointments don't open up every day. It's not like you have high turnover like you do inside an organisation. There's actually only a few positions, and they don't turn over very often. So one of the things that's quite frustrating for women is that not only do they not turn over very often, not only are they naturally not a candidate because of the reasons I've just explained, but actually as a woman, we now know statistically it's going to take you longer to get on a board. So the average in Europe, by the way, not Hong Kong, the average in Europe is 2.5 years for a woman from the moment she makes application until she gets appointed. For men, it's 1.7 years. So clearly there's a significant differential just in the period of time it takes. But actually the reality is you need about 5 years from the moment you make a decision that you would like to be on a board until you will formally get an offer. It's something like 5 years. So just to summarise that, in Hong Kong there's multiple problems. Secondly, there is inherently an issue just about the time it takes to actually get from making a decision to actually getting a board selection. There's many other issues I can go into, but they're the two key ones.